In this video, we'll be looking at teleportation abilities available to players through gear and toys. We won't be discussing player abilities like mage teleports or items from professions, like wormhole generators from engineering, since these teleportation abilities will be covered in a separate video. And the wormhole generators would fill this list entirely if we included them, as really, wormhole generators are the only thing keeping engineering alive. Also, we will only be covering teleports still available in one way or another, so no Atiesh portal to Karazhan, even though it's rather good. And at number 10, we have a tie between Jaina's Locket and the Signet of the Kirin Tor. Jaina's Locket is a reward from the last part of the Shadowborn questline. This questline starts in ICC by talking to High Lord Darren Morgraine. When used, the Locket creates a portal to Dalaran and Northrend, and any member in a group with the player who uses the Locket can use the portal. The Locket has a 1-hour cooldown, and the backstory surrounding the Locket is rather sad. The Locket text reads, "Once it held her image. He always wore it close to his heart." Jaina has a sad and touching moment after you return it to her at the end of the questline, and in reward, she gives you the Signet. The quest to turn it in and get the Locket is from the Shadowborn quest chain, which is exclusive to Warriors, Paladins, and Death Knights. However, the Locket is bind on use, meaning it can be sold on the auction house. The Signet of the Kirin Tor can be bought from Harold Winston in the Northrend Dalaran for 600 to 800 to 8500 gold, depending on how many times you upgrade it. This ring can be worn and has stats just like any other rings in the game. However, just like Jaina's Locket, it can also teleport the player to Dalaran. There's also a similar item named the Ring of the Kirin Tor, but it's essentially the same thing as a Signet with a few stat differences. Both Jaina's Locket and the Signet of the Kirin Tor are at number 10 on this list because, although useful, there is always an easy, accessible portal to Northrend, Dalaran from both portal rooms at Orgrimmar and Stormwind, making the teleports to Dalaran from these items somewhat redundant. And at number 9, we have Direbrew's Remote. This is an item obtained from the seasonal event Brewfest, in which players can queue for an event dungeon and defeat Corn Direbrew. Upon his death, there is a roughly 5% chance for him to drop this item. Using Direbrew's Remote will summon a Dark Iron Mole Machine for 1 minute, and clicking on this mole machine will teleport the player to the Grim Guzzler, the bar in the Shadowforge City in the dungeon Blackrock Depths. Anyone else in a party with the player can also use the mole machine. Another great thing about this toy is that it allows you to watch the band Elite Tauren Chieftain play in a bar anytime you like. Just talk to the goblin on the right and you can /cheer the members of the band as they rehearse for a 5-minute plus 10% all stats buff. Unfortunately, this is not a toy for some reason, and thus the only character who received the item can use it. Blizzard should seriously consider making this a toy so that it can be account-wide. Luckily, however, the item has no cooldown and infinite uses. This item seems to have greatly influenced the Dark Iron Dwarves racial, in which a Dark Iron Mole machine appears and the player can travel to several locations at their choosing, as long as they go and unlock them. Direbrew's Remote is a great way to quickly get to the massive dungeon Blackrock Depths for whatever reason, be it farming transmog, mats, rep, or something else. It is a niche teleportation ability with few uses. However, Direbrew's Remote does bring you about halfway through Blackrock Depths, and you can clear your way to the entrance to Molten Core as well, if you wanted to farm Molten Core but didn't want to fly all the way to Blackrock Mountain. And at number 8, we have the Boots of the Bay. These boots were added in Wrath of the Lich King and a reward from the Stranglethorn Fishing Extravaganza. The boots give a plus 10 to fishing skill, and when used, the boots teleport the player to the inn in Booty Bay. The flavor text for this teleport reads, "Whisk you away to the finest drinking establishment in Booty Bay." They essentially act as if you had set your Hearthstone to the Booty Bay Inn. The boots have a very long cooldown of 24 hours. Additionally, when first equipped, there is a 30-second window before they can be used. While it is a unique and novel teleport, getting to Booty Bay isn't that difficult in of itself. Alliance players can simply fly from Stormwind, which isn't too terribly far away. Horde players can always fly to Gadgetzan and take the ship that sails between there and Booty Bay. Additionally, Horde players can take the Zeppelin to Stranglethorn Vale from the Zeppelin towers above Orgrimmar or outside of Undercity. These boots are very useful when trying to farm stuff within Stranglethorn like Zul'Gurub, or if they're trying to win the Stranglethorn fishing contests because they teleport the player to the NPC named Wriggle Bassbait, that the player needs to hand the 40 fish in they caught in order to win the contest. Thus, to reduce time and edge out other players in the fishing contest, one should equip the boots before the contest begins so they don't have to worry about the 30-second cooldown that is incurred when the boots are first equipped. And at number 7, we have a tie with the Blessed Medallion of Karabor and the Fractured Necrolyte Skull. Both of these items teleport the player to the front entrance of Black Temple in Shadowmoon Valley in Outland. The Blessed Medallion of Karabor has a 50-minute cooldown and is awarded from the quest The Fall of the Betrayer. This is the last quest in a questline which sees the player help Akama and Maiev to sneak into Black Temple. This is a very long and tedious questline, which requires you to do a lot of the Burning Crusade raids. The Fractured Necrolyte Skull is a toy item which can be bought from Kupri, the TBC time-walking vendor in Chatrath, for 750 Time War badges. This toy has a 1-hour cooldown, but is one of the most unique in the game. The text reads, "Consume the soul of the target critter to summon a portal to the Black Temple. Upon the critter's death, a small demonic portal will appear. The player can then click on this portal to be teleported to the front of the Black Temple, and if you are in a location that has no critters, or simply wish to not have to look around, you can use the critter hand cannon toy, which spawns a ton of critters to use. And you can obtain this item for procuring the prototype questline in High Mountain. These items are very useful for getting to the Black Temple, as well as farming for Netherwings, and the skull is especially useful when farming for Illidan's Warglaives of Azeroth. There are portals to Shattrath City in both Orgrimmar and Stormwind, and the Black Temple isn't technically too far away from Shattrath, but there are two pretty large zones between Shattrath and the Black Temple, that being Terakar Forest and the Shadowwind Valley. These items are a great quality of life improvement as they can save several minutes of flying back and forth between Shattrath and the Black Temple. And at number 6, we have a handful of trinkets and toys named either a Frostwolf Insignia or a Stormpike Insignia. These insignias are faction specific and can only be used by what faction the player is part of. That is, a Frostwolf Insignia can only be used by members of the Horde, and a Stormpike Insignia can only be used by members of the Alliance. There is a toy of each insignia and 6 upgradable trinkets for each faction as well. All 14 of these toys and trinkets provide a similar teleport with a shared cooldown of 2 minutes, and these items can only be used while the player is within the Alterac Valley battleground. Upon using any of these trinkets or toys, they will teleport the player to the respective base in Alterac Valley. The Frostwolf and Stormpike Insignia toys can be obtained during the 15th anniversary Alterac Valley battleground for free. Both of the NPCs that hand out these toys can be found at the end of the cave in which players spawn at the beginning of the battle. However, these NPCs despawn shortly after the game starts, meaning you need to get them quickly. Luckily, obtaining one insignia will also automatically give you the other faction's toys insignia. The other trinkets can be obtained through questline that progress as you gain reputations within the battleground's respective factions. While not useful for traveling the world, these teleports to faction bases in Alterac Valley are invaluable during the AV battleground itself. The easiest way to win in AV is to kill the enemy commander. For Alliance, players want to kill Drekthar, who leads the Frostwolf clan, and Horde players want to kill Vandar Stormpike. Another major objective of the battleground is to cap the enemy's bunker until they burn and destroy the enemy's resources, with each side having 4 bunkers in total. Using the teleport in the battleground allows the player to return to their base to help defend their commander, no matter where they may be in the battleground. Thus, the trinket and toy is crucial in the defense of an AV game and makes for a powerful item, especially if the battleground is coordinated enough for a faction to perform a mass defensive Zerg to retake their base from having a whole bunch of players return to the base at once to overrun the enemy faction occupying it. There are many other uses for the insignia, such as returning resources to the base to empower your fellow player and even NPCs to call in powerful units like mounted and aerial patrols, or even an elemental lord. But at minimum, this teleport is so useful that it's not implausible to say it can help a coordinated team win in Alterac Valley better, both in retail and in classic. And at number 5, we have the Time Loss Artifact, a unique trinket for Mists of Pandaria. This trinket teleports the player to the Timeless Isle and has a cooldown of only 1 minute. It can be bought for 7,500 Timeless coins, which are very easy to come by in the Isle if you accidentally ever delete or sell the trinket. You can always just buy another one. There are portals to the Jade Forest in both Orgrimmar and Stormwind, but to get there from the Timeless Isle is a pretty long flight path. The flight path is considerably longer for Horde players since their portal's at the top of the zone, rather than the bottom of the zone where the Alliance portal is. The Timeless Isle offers many unique items and rewards, but one of the goals of every collector is to earn the achievement Going to Need a Bigger Bag, which is awarded after a player finds, collects, and loots all the rare items in the Timeless Isle. In total, there are some 50 plus items needed to get this achievement, and you can imagine that farming this achievement requires a lot of time, and that Time Loss Artifact trinket is a very useful thing for people who are farming here. Besides collecting on the Timeless Isle, the trinket is also useful for other reasons. The first is that the Mists of Pandaria time walking vendor is located on the Timeless Isle during the mob time walking, and the trinket saves you the trouble of having to fly here. The second is that there's a cave to the south of the Timeless Isle that offers a teleport to Gorgrond and alternate Draenor if you need a quick way to get to the north side of Gorgrond, say for a weekly clear of Blackrock Foundry or something. And at number 4, we have the ever-shifting mirror toy. This item was added in Warlords of Draenor but became a toy in Legion. It can also be obtained from the TPC Time Walking vendor in Shattrath for 500 Time Warp badges. This toy teleports the player between Outland and alternate Draenor and has a cooldown of only 15 seconds. Again, it's super useful for traveling between the Burning Crusade and Warlords of Draenor's expansions. To make this toy even better, it can be even used while being mounted. In total, there are 17 points that the mirror can take the player to, called convergence points, where usually there's 3 or 2 portals per zone. Using the item will spawn a little purple bubble that will lead you to the nearest portal. Upon clicking on the portal, you'll be sent to the respective portal in the alternate version of the world, Draenor to Outland or Outland to Draenor. Some examples of where these portals are located include the Dark Portal, Karabor and alternate Draenor and the Black Temple in Outland, Gruul's Lair in Outland and Blackrock Foundry in alternate Draenor, and etc, etc. Unfortunately, since the Zone of Farlon did not come to fruition in Warlords of Draenor, the mirror does not work in Netherstorm. For a complete breakdown of everything that was removed from Warlords of Draenor, check out our similar video on it. Similar to Farallon, the Spies of Iraq zone does not exist in Outland, so there's no counterpart to teleport to that zone in Outland, other than the very edges of the zone. It cannot be overstated how useful this toy can be, especially for farming old content, and there are very few items that are quite as useful as this toy in all of WoW. And at number 3, we have the Argent Crusade Tabard. This tabard was added in Wrath of the Lich King and teleports the player to the Argent tournament grounds in the northeast of the zone of Icecrown. This tabard has a 30-minute cooldown and can be bought for 50 champion seals. This is a great teleport because the area is full of the Argent tournament dailies and close to the Trial of the Crusader dungeon and raid. Never mind the fact that it's next door to Ulduar and a great way to get close to Storm Peaks for the time-lost protoject checks. The downside to this tabard is that to buy it, you need to have earned the achievement Exalted Argent Champion of the Alliance or the achievement Exalted Argent Champion of the Horde. These achievements are meta achievements for completing 6 other reputation-related achievements called Exalted Champion of the City Name Here. The Exalted Argent Champion achievement gives you the title Crusader, and each component achievement requires the player to be exalted with the Argent Crusade, and the 5 core factions of the Alliance or Horde as they were in Wrath. Additionally, players must complete 5 days worth of Argent Tournament dailies to be awarded each of the achievements, meaning it requires at the very least doing 25 days worth of dailies before grinding out the remaining champion seals. After this massive time sink, you can use this tabard and its teleportation to continue the grind champion seals for the Argent Warhorse and other items. Since Dalaran is a pretty long ways away from the Argent Tournament grounds, about halfway across Northrend, and through almost all of the zone of Icecrown, the tabard is a great quality of life addition, and is only one of the 3 tabards in the game that can teleport players. The other 2 tabards are from Tol Barad. The Baradin's Wardens and the Hellscream's Reach tabards also teleport the player to Tol Barad, but there is already a portal from Stormwind and Orgrimmar to Tol Barad, so these tabards are far worse than the previous expansions. And at number 2, we have a tie between the Brassiest Knuckle and the Pugilist Powerful Punching Ring. These 2 rings, when equipped and activated, teleport the player to the Brawlers Guild of their respective faction. These rings have a 1-hour cooldown and essentially act as a teleport to the player's major faction capital, since Bismo's Brawl Pub is located in the Deeper Entrammment Stormwind, and the Brawlgar Arena is located in the north side of Orgrimmar. The Brassiest Knuckle was added to Mists of Pandaria with the addition of the Brawlers Guild, a new arena where players can fight against various bosses and characters of the past, including new ones, to which you gain various rewards for doing so, usually requiring key mechanics like a snake who you must constantly move while avoiding having either of you step in the poison trail he leaves behind. The Brassiest Knuckle could be purchased when the player hit rank 4 in the Brawlers Guild from Paul North for Horde players, or Quickenbush for Alliance players. The Brassiest Knuckle, however, was removed with Warlords of Draenor, and both rings were eventually replaced with the Pugilist Powerful Punching Ring in Legion. And this new special ring can be purchased from the aforementioned NPCs for 2,000 gold. These rings are pretty powerful because as long as one of them is in your inventory, all you need to do is just equip them and you can teleport to the Brawlers Guild no matter where you are. From the Brawlers Guild, it's a very short walk to either Orgrimmar or Stormwind, where there are portal rooms to bring you to where you may need to go next. And finally, at number 1, we have the Guild Shrouds. There are 3 Guild Shrouds in the game, and each allows for the use to teleport to the major faction capital of Orgrimmar or Stormwind. These 3 capes can all be bought from any guild vendor in any capital city as long as the player is in a guild, and the guild has completed a certain guild achievement, and the player has at least honor reputation with that guild, which can easily be obtained by simply doing some questing while in the guild. The Shroud of Cooperation has an 8-hour cooldown and can be bought for 150 gold. It can only be bought after a guild has earned the achievement, a Class Act, which requires a guild to have a max level of each of the 12 classes. The Wrap of Unity has a cooldown of 4 hours and can be bought for 300 gold. It can be bought after a guild has earned the Guild Feat of Strength achievement to level 15. The Cloak of Coordination has a cooldown of 2 hours and can be bought for 500 gold, and it requires reaching revered status with your guild and for your guild to have completed the achievement Master Crafters, which requires crafting 500 epic items. What makes these shrouds so powerful is they are essentially 3 Hearthstones set to Orgrimmar and Stormwind, and they each have their own individual cooldowns. They are usable anywhere as long as the player is not in combat. As such, they can be used to easily return to the amenities and connections of the faction hub from whatever moat desolate part of Azeroth, or wherever world or plane you might be on. Combining these with some of the other teleportation abilities listed in this video can make for farming old content and getting around the world a lot easier. WoW is almost 20 years old at this point, and these teleportation abilities are a blessing to most classes and races, which don't have teleportation abilities on their own. Sure, there are always the 3 Hearthstones, the default Innkeeper one, the WoD Garrison one, and the Legion Dalaran one, but these take you to other random locations that require 1, sometimes 2 loading screens just to get to your major city, and can be annoying when you're just trying to get to the auction house, and are especially annoying if you're doing something small, like a handful of daily quests in one of the continents, and then going to another continent to do another handful of daily quests. Alright, and that's the video. Hopefully, this video has not only been educational and informative, but you can use it to make your WoW adventures a little bit easier for yourself.